Hello and welcome to Check 1 2, where we give you the lowdown on testicular cancer by talking to survivors, advocates and supporters of testicular cancer awareness here at the world famous podcast studio Glasgow. Today we're joined by Harry MacArthur, a young guy who knows firsthand just how quickly life can change. Harry was diagnosed with testicular cancer last year, and since then he's faced it all with courage, honesty and a powerful message for others going through the same. Harry is one of the recipients of the Cahonas You've Got This boxes, a small package with a big message of support. And today he's here to share what it meant to him and how he navigated his diagnosis and his surgery, and why checking yourself and speaking up is so important, given that Harry had slept on his testicular cancer for over a year. This is a story about early detection, strength and what it means to really support each other, one conversation at a time. Let's get into it. Ladies and gentlemen, Harry MacArthur. Harry, thanks very much for coming on Check 1 2.
Pleasure, thank you.
If you just want to start off by introducing yourself, letting people know your testicular cancer story, and then we'll just have a chat, mate. And this is going to be as easy as that.
Is it recording now?
Yep, right now.
Right, well, I'm Harry, and same as yourself, I have one ball. Because it's testicular cancer, it's always a mouthful to say that.
That's what she said.
Also words, considering it's not so much a mouthful. But no, it's if I try and say, I just start from the start. From
yeah,
story,
I go for it. Aye.
I'd say I had a lump. I felt a wee lump. I never really thought much of it. And I think it was more just being busy, fast-paced lifestyle, society. And I'm self-employed, and I get my kids every second weekend, and I just busy all the time. So maybe a couple of months go past faster than they should, and then it crosses my mind again. Maybe I should check that again. But then a few things happened that year, and I had my lump for a year and a half,
right? Wow,
minimum. When I'm trying to count it back, that's why when it got to the point of they told me, yes, it's cancer, I was like worried because I knew how long I'd had it. But at the start I had it, then but I looked online and everybody says the ball itself would get bigger if it was a problem. And I also seen it could just be a sperm duct or something. So I wasn't that fussed about it. And but then the reason I got, and I never heard anybody else say this, so maybe it's important, because we've all got like a big one and a small one, right? My small one felt like it was getting smaller.
Right.
And that maybe made the lump more distinctive, or maybe the lump was getting bigger, I don't know. But that made me kind of fast forward the process to get checked. So I phoned up the doctors again. I think there was someone else actually I was going to doctors for. I thought I just thought I'd get checked at the same time. And then it's an awkward moment, obviously lying in a bed, getting your willy out in front of a man, and then he feels around and then he confirms he can feel what I can feel, and he books me in to go to the hospital. So I go to the hospital. At this point, I told a couple of people. I actually told my ex-wife I'm getting a lump checked. But even at this point, I did tell her, and I told like maybe my best mate Deke too. And then I wasn't too sure. Like I never once really, cancer was an option.
Yeah.
I wasn't stressed or worried about it. I knew it was something not quite right, but I wasn't ever, because I felt healthy and strong and I was fine. So got in there, and at first it's like almost funny, you know what I mean? Because I'm walking, I'm a single guy at the time, but it's like there's 3 women in the room, and I need to take my pants down, and it's like slightly funny. Do you know what I mean? A funny story in the future, and then never going to be in that scenario again. And then obviously the checking, and she's taking ages. You know, and it's not like, at this point, it's not like I'm feeling, it's not like, Ruah! It's like, I'm nervous, lying in, nothing's looking great. So you're lying there like, oh no. And they put the gel in that one. And then they sort of have to relax. They're very honest, they're amazing though. They know, like, they didn't make it a thing. They make it like it's normal when they're talking to each other and that. And then she said, what was it she said again? She said, I don't want to alarm you, but there's something I want to get seen to urgently, and I want to try and get a doctor to come and see like right now. Right. And straight away I was like, fuck. Yeah. So as soon as she said that, I was like, this is obviously don't even think about it was cancer at that point. I was like, that's a nightmare. And then she took me to a waiting room, and I remember she was being nice to me, and they got me a waiting room that was on my own and not with everybody else. So I was like,
it's even more of a worry.
you're being nice for a reason. Yeah, this is bad news coming. And then I was in the waiting room waiting. I seen, because obviously I think only Deke and my ex-wife knew, and then Deke's like our best mate. He's like, I was living with him at the time, and then my flat, we were living together, and then they'll text me saying, "How's you going?" I didn't know what to say at this point. Straight away I'm already overthinking about everybody else worrying and that. But then she goes back in the room and she goes, "Is it okay if you come back tomorrow? And can you bring someone with you?" And you've seen it on movies and episodes of telly and that. And I was like, why do you want me to come back with somebody? I said, "Do you think it's cancer?" And she said, "I do." I said, "I don't want to lie to you. I'm maybe not supposed to tell you, but in my experience, 90% of the time I see a lump like that, it's cancer."
Yeah. And
I actually really appreciate her doing that, because even though it was horrible news, I don't know. See when your mind's in the unknown, it's even worse.
Oh,
do you know what I mean?
definitely, yeah.
But although she's told me that, it was a bit like a fucking hell, because straight away I'm thinking, I've had that for a year and a half.
Mm-hmm.
I've let that fucking spread, and I was like, so I came out and I was kind of shocked. She was so nice. She's like, "I'm sorry, and I know it's hanging news and that." If I remember saying, I was in silence, and I think she never really knew what to say. And I was like, "That's a fucking nightmare, eh?" And she goes, "It's a bit, aye." I was like, "Oh no." And my ex-wife Natalie phoned me and was like, "How did you get on with the thing?" I was like, "Well, not very good." But she panicked and she totally burst into tears, because we're still pals. We got children together. And everything's all going really good, and like she's a good mum, I'm a good dad, and it's good that way. But she says she was totally, she ended up leaving work early and all that, and she was hysterical. But when she was green, it was making me think, it was sort of making me realise how serious it could be.
Yeah. And
part of me feels bad about this, to tell this part. I'll tell you why as you go on, but some part of me felt a bit guilty, because I felt like I was one of the easy ones. Like, but anyway, at this point I never knew. So there was 2 days where I never had a clue how bad it was, and that was a worry.
Mm-hmm.
But I sort of said to her, I'm like, why are you? I'm not going to freaking die. I didn't worry about it. And I got here and I was like, what if I'm going to die? Do you know what I mean? Suddenly my mind's like, brr. And my mate Deke, he's been through a lot himself recently too, and I was more worried about telling him in case he overreacted or got upset and that and whatever. And I was thinking, how am I going to tell him, man? And suddenly I'm thinking, how am I going to tell anybody? And I was thinking, what if I need to tell my kids and blah, blah, blah. And then my mind, because I do overthink a lot of stuff. And so at this point my mind's gone really fast. So as I told Natalie, I got back home, I phoned Deke. No, I waited to speak to him face to face actually, because I was worried about how he would react. So at this point I'm total, like, trying to play it down. I'm like, it's going to be fine, I will sort it. It's probably just going to be a quick operation, because she did say it's going to be chop.
Yeah.
And then you'll get tests to see if it's spread anywhere else. And I'm like, fucking hell, it's like an evil thing.
Yeah, 100%.
That grows inside of you. And when you imagine something in you growing, killing you slowly but surely, it's horrible. Do you know what I mean? I'm like, I just want it fucking out.
Yeah.
And then so I went in. I went the next game day, and Natalie came with me, and they gave me the news I knew I was going to get.
Right.
Thanks to that woman, she broke it. It was totally next day, totally more relaxed, because I already half knew. I'm glad she told me the truth. I'm glad she never just was treating me like a robot, like she probably was supposed to do in a textbook. Like, I'm glad she never was like, come back in tomorrow, bring someone with you. I'm glad she was just honest. Do you know what I mean? Because that broke it down gently for me.
Yeah.
I walked to Forth Valley, and I had a wee cry, like tears, no like green, but tears were streaming a wee bit. And then so back to the next day. So I went in and then spoke to a doctor woman. I'm sure she was Irish or something. She spoke to me and just sort of, she's like, what do you already know? And I said, I think by sounds I've got cancer. And she says, right, I'm glad you already know that. She says, but I was worried 'cause I didn't want to get the girl in trouble.
Yeah, aye.
I says, and I was kind of reiterated. I says, by the way, I kind of half thought it and I probed her, and she told me, but I'm glad she did. And I was worried in case she'd get out. And then she said, as you have got it, and you've got, I got two or three lumps on mine. And she says, but one of them was particularly, she has a word, basically, not a positive word, like a menacing, or something worse than menacing. And then she said, we've seen that. And she said, I'm going to talk about what the plan of action is, what we do next, da-da-da. So they offered me, they says, we basically chop, and you get offered fake ball. And then they're half laughing about that, saying, most people say. Now the way I looked at it was like, it's already an operation. Every operation's a risk. Every time you get put to sleep, if it's just if I had an operation the year before, see, like, honestly, I've been doctors in about 20 years. This is probably worth talking about today, because most sort of self-employed masculine men of working class scenarios just get on with work, don't go to doctors. Like, I've been doctors in about 20 years, and I've been 2 freaking operations. I nearly chopped my hand off, then did chop my ball off. And I'm like, I fucked my wrist, my ankle on the scaffold too.
Oh, really?
All this time, and then the same year, and then I actually got offered a job off the tools. Like, maybe it's a sign from the gods above. I need to just calm down. But then, but anyway, so I'm going off topic here. Right? I'll go back to where I was in the story.
Fake ball.
So it says fake ball, and she kind of spoke to me and they said it kind of hangs a bit weird and all that. And at this point I was thinking, what is it? I never actually thought about how, if it's going to look weird or not. And it wasn't until they mentioned the fake ball, I'm like, what is some folk like really bothered about? Like, I said, maybe I should think about it. But first of all, I was thinking, this is probably wrong, but I thought it'd be a good banter piece. See what a fake ball, and I could like hit things off it in the bar and that. Straight away thinking, what fun things can I do with a fake ball? But then the she stopped. But then I was thinking, I was like, it's another operation. It's more time off work. It's more risk. And I was like, can wait. I'll just have one ball. It'll be fine. And then she's confirmed all that and that. And then she managed to get my, because I was going to have to wait longer. I was going to have to wait like 2 or 3 days for my, is it CT scan? Yeah. And luckily she got me it that day. I was like, brilliant. Because she knew I was nervous, because I said I've had this for like a year and a half. Like, because she did say that there's a chance it can spread to your stomach or your back. And I was like, oh no, man. And then she got me a CT scan that day, and I'm sure I got so I had to come back in the next game day for something else. And they were hoping to give me my results that day, but they ended up not giving my results that day because they're like total busy. But the time scales, I ken the NHS is under a lot of pressure and a lot of stuff's not getting done fast enough, but they were total rapid in me. Yeah. And then they, I think they all were a bit worried when I told them I was even a year and a half. And maybe that's why I got seen quick, I don't know. But then I ended up getting next, because I did wait all day for them results. I never got them. I remember it was next game day. And I'm self-employed, so I say to myself, I've got jobs to finish. I must finish because I'm going to have time off work. So I was like, go back to work. And I was like distracted because I was just waiting for that phone call constantly, do you know what I mean? And then, but anyway, that was during the period where I was the worst, because there was a kind of shock. And then there was, how bad is this? And I was like, it kind of fucking feels weird. I've actually got cancer, do you know what I mean? Aye. And then it was, how bad is it? And I was waiting to find out how bad. And then I was having kind of scenarios in my head, like, and I actually wasn't, the strange thing is I wasn't like scared to death. It was me, and I was scared about how everybody else would cope. And I was worried about my kids. I had my head making videos, like for their 18th, or for their first job, or for their first breakup, or their first marriage, ideally first and last marriage. but I was thinking, like, what if I'm not there? How can I fucking think how they might be feeling? How can I try and be a dad and just give them, do you know what I mean? All these crazy thoughts. I remember it was like going for a walk on the canal and with dictate and just half in silence. But I could tell he was worried, but he was trying to not act worried, do you know what I mean? And then, so then I was at work and I was waiting for the phone call, and I phoned up and I was like, any chance of my results? Yeah. And he said, no, we're going to phone you back. She's just really busy. And again, understaffed. And this nurse or doctor, I don't know what the right word is, but she's doing more than what she should on a daily basis. and she's doing stuff that she didn't need to do, and she's having to do the phone calls because the NHS is just no staffed enough. And then eventually she got around to calling me. So I wasn't like, I was anxious, but I wasn't annoyed at them because I knew that they're understaffed, but I was still like, has it spread? Tell me so I can like start dealing with this mentally. And she phoned me up and she's like, great news is there's no spread. I was sitting there with a laser and I was like, like just, wow, man. And I could tell everybody else there's no spread anywhere else, so this should just be a bit of an inconvenience. Like, it's an operation, it's not ideal. And it's not ideal when you think about what's happening. You know, if you're in trouble, you know, your missus might say, if you did, I'll cut your balls off. Do you know what I mean? I'm like, I'm getting a ball cut off. It's a fucking nightmare. I'm like, how does it even happen? They go through the stomach. They talk about the elastic bit too. I'm like, oh. And for a bit, I did start feeling sick when I thought about it. I'm like, they're actually just chopping in half, man.
Mate, I had a full-blown panic attack.
Did you?
The night before, I didn't research what the operation was, and then the night before my operation, I looked it up, and I went into a full-blown, like, fetal, like, oh my God, this...
If there's one part of your body you do not want chopped off, it's got to be your balls. So once everybody knew it hadn't spread, it's like me and Deke, we just slag each other, like, ruthlessly. And he was like, when's it okay to, like, start slagging you for this? Do you know what I mean? I was like, you bastard. And then he says, so the joke started in that, and we're like slagging each other. Like, stop fucking milking it, Harry, it's only cancer. Like, and then he was just slagging me, and I slag him ruthlessly too, but it's just funny. But I feel like guys do that though. Guys just slag each other. It's a bit of banter. Do you know what I mean? It's like a body armour. Do you know what I mean? Oh,
and Scottish guys are the best at doing it. Best at giving it, best at taking it. Do you know what I mean? So,
and I'm actually Scottish, by the way. I've just got like a mongrel accent. But I've got a Scottish dad, English mum. And a freaking strange accent.
I was trying to pick it apart there. I was like,
see what it is? Like, I'm trying to talk properly.
Right.
Because I'm trying to talk properly because I'm under pressure. I come with English.
Right.
But see, if I'm just in general chat with my mates, it comes a bit more Scottish.
Right.
It's funny, Debbie said to me, you're going to talk English? I said, I bet I fucking do. But that's funny. But so do I just keep fucking chatting about the story? Or?
Yeah, I just, you know, and I mean, I think, like, see when you realise, like, see that going back to when she's told you, like, this is probably cancer, and then it's clicked for you, like, a year and a half, like, like, what was that feeling like? Because I mean, I put mine off for a month, and I felt like that was a long time, do you know? And like, but a year and a half, you must have been like all panic stations.
When them 2 days, I never worked there 2 days,
right?
And my mind was gone.
Aye.
And that's what I mean. I did feel like, when I realised it can spread to your stomach, and I asked it if it's because it says, have you lost weight? The problem is because I'd hurt my ankle and hurt my wrist. I was at 15 stone and as heavy as I had been. So I'd put on a bit of weight, but then I was back working again, so I lost a bit of weight again. I went to like 14 and a half. And she's like, have you lost weight? Have you got a sore back? I'm like, oh no. I have lost weight, but I think it's because of this. I have got a sore back, but it's probably because of what. But straight away I'm thinking, fucking hell, there's so many reasons why this could have spread, because it's like your stomach and your back, it goes to. And I did get a bit of dodgy stuff. So I did think, that's why I started thinking about making the videos and all that. But I thought, I was going to say something. But I did get a sudden, I'm 36, I'm still young. I'm very young. But I'm also aware I'm not overly young. Like, I'm not old. You know what I mean? But I'm at the stage now, I'm starting to think of things a bit more. Maybe health's a bit more important than it was 10 years ago. Yeah. And I did realise I'm not invincible. I think that's the main thing. Once I realised I definitely had cancer. I was like, fucking hell, I'm not invincible now. It's a bit annoying. Yeah. Because it's like anything, eh? Like, you hear the word cancer and you never equate it to you or it happening to you. Cancer happens to other people. Yeah. It doesn't happen to you. And then, that's right. Yeah. And then see when it hits you, you're kind of like, I had the same thought. I was like, fuck, I've got cancer. It was the weirdest thing, because like you saying the word out loud, because it's inside you can't see it. Like, it was this weird thing of like, this is, like you said, like, this is inside me, like, just being this evil wee bastard trying to kill me. Trying to grow. Yeah. And it was such a weird mindset to get into, to go, oh yeah, like, this is a real thing that's happening to me. And I remember, like, see when
I got kind of almost similar, but the wee wife at the ultrasound, she kind of went like, "Are you going to hate to see the consultant like now?" And me no putting two and two together, I was like, right, okay.
Okay, thanks.
And then he came and saw me and he told me, and he was like, yeah, it's definitely a cancer. And I was just kind of like, yeah, okay, right. What's next? And it wasn't until the surgeon came back, and basically like when they'll send it for a biopsy to say like, is it definitely cancer?
Aye. That's another one, by the way.
Aye.
So they chop it off.
Yeah.
I was like, we're just going to send this away just to make sure it's definitely cancer. I'm like, what?
Well,
make sure it's definitely just chopped it freaking off. I literally just chopped my ball off. Just to double check. I said, it better be fucking cancer now.
But like, so he came in after like chopping mine off and went, yeah, so just looking at it, we know it's cancer because like
it's almost a relief at that point.
Yeah, because just the way that the mine's was a embryotic one, so it was like mine's was grown inside rather than just on top of the ball itself. Mine's was actually grown like a chicken and an egg type thing, and the only reason that I had the lump was because it herniated. So actually, that's where I got the heavy pain for. You know, so it's like
you're lucky yours was detectable.
Yeah,
or so you could have had it for if yours for a year and a half.
Yeah, I mean, because see at the time, again, like all the symptoms, like I was at my fittest that I was just turned 30. I was at the fittest I was running nearly every day. So like we stay like where in the old house we stayed literally 5 kilometres for the hospital, the new hospital.
Oh, okay.
So I would run like back like from the hospital, I'd just run home. So I was at my fittest that I'd ever was, and so I was losing weight. I was working in, you know what I mean? I was working in psychiatry. I was running every day. My lower back was so, you know what I mean? It's
like, same as me.
It was these kind of things that you didn't put two and together. And yeah, if mine hadn't herniated, I maybe just would have went, oh, I'm just a bit sore for running and work, you know? So, but thankfully it didn't, I didn't put it off. But well, I did put it off for a month, but
good.
It's a complete and utter, it's the only word's mindfuck, innit? You know what I mean?
I thought so at first it's a mindfuck of the serious stuff.
Yeah.
Like, am I gonna die? But once you get past that, and I think every man. How can we just be honest here? How does it need to be PG? No.
No.
So so once I got past, I don't think I'm gonna die. It's gonna need an operation. They did say you might need at this point. They told me maybe need one batch of chemo because I was worried about chemo. I've heard loads of stuff about it. I've read about it. I'm trying to stick to the subject here, but I could talk to you loads about conspiracy theories and cancer and other ways of getting rid of it and all that. But I was like, is chemo good or bad? And is it going to make me worse overall? And the other thing was looking weak in front of my family. I didn't like the idea of being weak, and it's horrible, chemo.
Nah.
But if it was a life or death scenario, I'd take it. But they said to me, you might need one batch, but we'll see how it goes. But so I was all right at this point. I knew, right, I'm going to be all right. I'm going to survive.
Yeah.
So next thought process was like, if I get a ball chopped off, like, can I still like jizz?
Yeah.
Is everything gonna work?
Yeah.
Like I wanted to, like, when you got your missus, whatever you're doing, like you just want everything to work. Do you know what I mean? And I'm like, I've never appreciated or thought about this so much in my life.
Yeah.
Like really normal things that men do that is like, oh no, because I was like, if you can't do that.
Yeah.
So I'm like, straight away, I guarantee every single man who's ever had a ball chopped off was like, Google.
Yeah.
Can you still? You know what I mean? So I checked that, and then it was like, you should be fine, blah blah blah. And then I was suddenly like, the other one was like so freaking precious. I was like, thank God it's a big one that's all right. And I was like, because how it might look afterwards.
Yeah.
And I wasn't really bothered about how it'd look until like, technically this is when Debbie comes in the story.
Yeah.
But at first I was honestly never really fussed about it. And then, I mean, there was, I don't know, maybe to start a story to acknowledge if there was a few folk close to me who were reminding me to like get it checked and that. I think that's important. That we've got people around us that you speak to.
Yeah.
Speak to them. Even if they want to speak to people in general, people don't really know. Tell somebody, because you never know that somebody might say, "Mind get that checked."
Yeah.
And that one day might just. And I say that's the case for me. So I thank these people, but also. When I was at the point so I'm glad all that works. And then Then I was waiting to operation date. At this point, like you say, same as me, sinks in, you just want it freaking out.
Yep.
So I got the operation pretty quick. I was quite happy about that. I don't know. So I got an operation date, actually. And I was trying to work, because I feel like most men who don't talk and don't get checked is the category of like working class masculine men. These are the men that actually need help. You look at the suicide stats today.
Yeah.
And the way society's gone.
Yeah.
Trying to alienate, the old fashioned, strong, normal fucking man. Well, these men, wouldn't you think twice about helping other folk, but don't help themselves. They're not praised enough, I think. But it was a blow my own drum, but I think I'm in that category that's even a declining category of men. And I was thinking about work, money, because I didn't get holiday pay. I didn't get pay if I'm sick. I didn't get pension. So I was trying to sort jobs out, try to sort that out. And they gave me my hangy date, my operation date. I was like, right, we'll go with that. I had jobs lined up. Get as much done, because I knew I'd have a sore stomach for a bit after it, and I kind of heavy lifting that. Tried to get it all done quick, but then they gave me an earlier date, and I was like, I knew I had to make that a priority, do you know what I mean? But it kind of buggered me up for money a bit. Yeah. And that was the next stress, because it wasn't just stress of that, it was like the money. Because I had to take that time off work, and then because of that, I can't remember what it was, but I ended up losing a job. And because I needed it done for a certain time. And it was like a kind of domino effect. But one of my good sort of friends and a guy I'd worked with in the past, he had actually offered me a job. And we had like agreed, went like sort of start dates, and that was my job off of tools, Fraser. And I knew I had that in the pipeline, but I was sort of running out of money fast and furiously. Yeah. And like again, because when you're a single sort of dad, working class man, paying freaking rent, maintenance, whatever else you need to pay, the world's went mental. How much everything costs. I was like, got that to deal with, and this operation to deal with a bit. But so I did get a bit stressed for a bit, feel a bit done. But I did have good people around me. So I got the operation, went in. Now, see, that's another complication. So when they first told me I had it, they says, just in case you want to have children in the future. I did think, no, I didn't want any more weans. I've got two of mine, that's plenty. And if I meet another girl, then she might have a wean, get what I mean? So, but then they said, you never know and all that, and you might want to freeze them. I said, if it was an option, I probably should just freeze them, do you know what I mean? Yeah. So that was, I can't remember how it worked out, but on the day of my operation, he was sort of saying to me, because the other one seems healthy, you won't apply to get them frozen for free in the NHS. So it's still an option, but it'll cost like $2 or $3 I'm like, I'm sure. And I was like, I can't obviously afford that. Do you know what I mean? I says, but because part of me was thinking, I didn't want any more kids, but if I was to meet a girl who never had any kids, it was really important to her, then I would definitely consider it. Do you know what I mean? But all these thoughts I never thought was ever serious. Having to deal with them. And I was like, I said, but to cut a long story short, doesn't matter what I think or feel, because I can't afford fucking $3. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So, he did say that if you are thinking about this, then you will not do the operation today. I said, no, we need the operation today, because I need to hurry up and heal so I can get back to work. And I said, I've already took time off before this, and now, and today, and everything else. I don't know how long. Some folks say they're back to work in a couple of weeks. Some folks say it's like a month. Some folks say, what is it? Were you supposed to rest for 6 weeks? 13 weeks really is. Was like, because especially if you're doing heavy lifting, but again, it depends like really on the person, like how and what you're doing healing and what you're doing work wise as well. Like, I couldn't even mind, but I remember I'd done a rough sum in my head of like the time they gave me, the time probably me being overly hungry, and somewhere in the middle, thinking I'll be back at work roughly here. Then I worked out, and I knew I had to get the operation that day. So anyway, I got the operation. That all went well. But I seen I was in there. In fact, I remember that too. It's funny, the memories are coming back as I'm chatting. But I remember being in there and then feeling a bit bad, because I was like, folk are like worried about me, and I felt bad. I felt like mine wasn't a big deal. Do you know what I mean? I feel like it's a simple thing. I'm probably not getting chemo and all that. So I feel like it's no serious thing. I felt bad a wee bit for all the like, sort of tension I was getting. But then this guy next to me, I could hear this conversation. It was horrific, mate. And stuff, operations they'll do into his jaw and taking teeth out and doing things and trying not to touch this. And this deep, complicated operation this man was getting to give him a hope.
Mm-hmm.
And I was sitting there and tearing up, man. And I was thinking, and he was being so polite and positive about it. I was like, fair play to you, mate. Right.
There is a bit of imposter syndrome when you're sitting though. Like I had that. See, when I was in the beating, I was in like with 4 other guys. So like at the time, I thought I'm just getting a couple of rounds of chemo. Like it's nothing major. Whereas now I don't think that. But at the time, I've got a guy, you know, who's got bowel cancer, stage 4 bowel cancer. There's another boy who's got lung cancer, and I never seen the other guy awake, so I didn't know. But it's like, and they were all months and years of chemo, and I'm like sitting there going, well, I'm only getting 2 rounds of this. Like, it's no big deal. But actually, like,
when you read about what it is,
so it's that weird imposter syndrome thing that you have at the start of it. I think.
I can agree with that too. And again, that's like a man thing. I think sometimes a working class man who doesn't complain or moan or expect, just cracks on. So when things does happen with any, but then so I got an operation, came out, and then I had some time off work.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? And I thought, right, I'll relax. And it was, the first couple of days was fine. It was agony. Like, I remember sitting up or sitting down. It was fucking agony in your stomach. Seeing I sneezed. Oh man, it was so sad. I sneezed. I felt it coming. I was like, oh no. There's nothing you can do. But I was scared of it bursting the stitches or something.
It's that first going to the toilet, man. Like when when you're going for a shite.
Well, again, another thing, if it's not very PG, right? I remember the first day. It was only a couple of days to, but I was like, I hope everything like. Don't with jizz, hope it works.
Yeah.
As a, you know what, and then just before that, I'm like, is it going to be Sarah? Is it going to be Sarah? And I was like, thank God. All that's all right, because having an operation in there, you still don't know if someone's flicked something or hit something or if it's going to be Sarah.
Well, there is a nerve that, so like, it usually only happens to the guys who goes into the lymph nodes. But see, if there's a certain nerve that if the cancer goes on to, if they damage that in any way, then you can't ejaculate at all.
I think these surgeons just wear capes.
Honestly,
see if I knew how intense that was, I'll go and give my Harry hug right now.
But it's like,
it's so such not fine detail.
So it's not like a mad thought to go, can I still? Because unfortunately, the risks of it are pretty high. Like,
it's horrific, horrific. But the funny thing is, after all this, I'm overall like happier. It did give me a wee kick. See, when you consider death for a couple of seconds, and I never had considered it before. And when you really consider, it's all right. Imagine it. And I'm one who always tries to say, try and stop time, try and appreciate life. I did try and do things when I'm like away from phones, sort of in the moment and that. And until you sort of think death might be an option here. I think if you get past that, you end up a lot happier in the long run. Do you know what I mean? But I think so. I did feel happier in the long run. But so I had that. I was in the house for a bit, and I was just sort of chilling. And then I'd been off like social media for like 2 years. I was bored. I thought, fuck it, I'll get Facebook again. So there's attractive women coming up. Like Debbie was one of them. I had Debbie, and then. It's random, like she was like the target, do you know what I mean? She was like, even though I was like taking hundreds of painkillers, like spending most of the day in bed, randomly trying to chat up some woman on Facebook. I was like, what else am I going to do in my spare time? And then, but then a whole new host of thoughts came along, because I was like, it's alright if you've got a girlfriend or a wife and you go through this, they're going to love you no matter what, do you know what I mean? Yeah. But then I was like, I just realised, I wonder if it fucking looks weird. And I was looking at it, I'm like, does it look weird? I don't know, Cyclops or fucking. Does it look oddly strange? I normally I'm super confident, but then other times I'm suddenly like doubting myself and wondering, and
more like a kind of an exclamation point. Or depending how it bends, a question mark.
That's funny. But then, I remember one thing she says. And women's got their issues and their problems when they get to their 30s and 40s and all that, and just kind of like, oh, if small tits and a mum tum's your thing, then I'm your girl. I was like, if a dad bod and one ball's your thing, I'm your man. But she was totally down to earth. Do you know what I mean? So we're chatting more and more, because before that I said, by the way, just so you know, I've went through a bit of cancer and that recently. I said, but straight away every time I said, it's not a big deal though. I said, and I do believe it's not a big deal for me. I said there was 2 days where it was a big deal, and then it still is because it's cancer. But for me, I know I'm one of the lucky ones where I didn't need any. Like you said you had some chemo, I didn't need any, so I was lucky. Because chemo's the worst part of it, I think. But then, so straight away I was like, I'm one of the lucky ones. It's no spread anywhere else. I'll find it for sure soon if I get chemo or no, but I think it's unlikely. I said, so it's not a massive deal, but she was straight away, she was like all over it, and she was so nice. And at this point I never knew loads about her. I never knew a lot about her. Like, you know, we were chatting and asking a million questions to each other, and it was amazing, all the chat. But then I never knew what I'm going to say next. And then she was just so supportive and so like kind and making me feel better. And she had a bit of banter. She had a bit of banter before I came here. She told me I wasn't allowed to say. But then at one point I was like, I've only got one ball, by the way, and that she's like, that's fine, it fits my muff easier. I was like, that's the perfect thing to say from a Denny bird. Like, you know what I mean?
Sounds a bit Denny.
That's funny.
If everybody ever meets her, they'll kind of, nah, I know that lassie, but no.
She looks like she's the most sophisticated. But wouldn't melt. No, but it's funny. And then we cracked on chatting and that, and then but the main thing here is I didn't even realise at this point. She was so nice to me and so kind to me. And you know when you first meet a girl, you start looking through the old Facebook photos and that. I was scrolling through the old profile pictures and that, and then eventually one came up which looked like an older woman. Put two and together, it was a mum. Yeah, there was a cancer awareness thing around her, and I was like, oh no. And she had asked about Beatsons and spoke to me and was really nice to me and was trying to make me say, oh, well done, you beat cancer and all that, you're proud of yourself. And never once did she mention her situation with her mum. So I was thinking more and more about it. I was like, I remember, I think it was like, I don't know, I left a couple of voice notes at this point. No, you go for that spill. But I'll have to voice notes saying that, just as I might be wrong, I'm really sorry if it's a touchy subject in that. But I'm putting two and two together, and it seems maybe your mum died of cancer, and I just wanted to speak to you and acknowledge you've been so supportive and so nice to me, and never once meant, you know, most people unconsciously, and they're not always being rude, they just accidentally talk about themselves. Yeah. When somebody else said something bad to them, and she never once done that, and she was like, and I was like, I just want to acknowledge you've had a much harder time than me. And you never once mentioned you or the sadness you've been through, your mum dying of cancer. And she's really nice back. And I think we kind of have connected, in a strange, good things come from bad things sometimes. And maybe that happened to us, because I'd have never downloaded Facebook if it wasn't for having this. You know? Yeah. Then I would talk to her and we were talking more. Her mum died of lung cancer. And the really strange thing is, my first Beatsons appointment was on the same day that her mum died of cancer, like the anniversary. Right. I hope to fuck I'm getting that right. It's either that or her birthday. No, I'm sure it's the day she died of cancer. I know, it's the day she died of cancer. Because and straight away, she was like, I'll come with you if you want. And she came with me and she drove me in that. And because I, even though, again, her partner thinks mine isn't a big deal, but she was like supportive and wanted to be there for me and that. So she came with me and we went to it. And straight away, the doctor was talking to me and you got your charity box, which is amazing, by the way. I couldn't even believe how much good stuff was in it. It's massive. I was like, this is like so many good bits of bobs. And I didn't know if someone was going through chemo, some of the stuff in there would be great for them. I take the calm tablets, what's inside it. Yeah, the stress less. Yeah. I'm stressed. I'm like, even nothing to do with this. I just think it's just good to have them. And then, but anyway, so they were talking to me and they're like, in detail, I can't remember the exact words, and to be fair, it's hard to understand what he was saying, but I could understand he was saying mine was okay. And he was going in detail saying low risk and blah, blah, blah. And eventually it says, like, so there's no need for chemo. It's like, there's a few angles you looked at it, the type of cancer and something else. And he basically says it's like, there's no need for chemo. The success rate you're going to have is a really high chance. That we're just going to check you every 3 months, and then every 6 months, and then every year, the next 5 years. And I could see, honestly, like, Debbie was so happy, like, almost happy. And I was happy, she was happy. You know what? And I remember she saying, like, this is a bad day, but this has made it a bit better. Because this is obviously a hard day for her. And it was such a happy day. Like, just to know that I've made that bad day a bit better. And we sort of, because we had nipped to her grave that morning. She like, we spoke to her and all that. Part of me thinks, I don't know if she's like helping us out or no, but I just said, I'll try and make her proud, look after Debbie and all that. And because she don't want to make it bad, but she does a lot on her own. She's strong, and overall it just became a really good day. And because of the whole scenario and meeting Debbie and knowing what she's went through, knowing that I was one of the lucky ones, it has made me just a lot happier overall. Appreciate life, appreciate love, appreciate my kids, appreciate that I've got time. You know what I mean? Because at one point I thought, I don't know how much I've got left. Yeah. You know what I mean? Lived for 2 days, but it still was 2 days.
Oh, and it's that mortality thought is massive, even if it's for 2 days or if it's for 2 minutes. Like, to have that, your mortality question, to question your own mortality at any point is bonkers. Do you know what I mean? And, you know, like, and fair play to Debbie as well. Do you know what I mean? It's like, you know, somebody else in that position could have went, cancer, I can't. Do you know what I mean?
You're absolutely right, mate.
But you look at, you know, and for people who are listening that actually worked with Debbie, so this is how I'm able to speak in this with a bit of authority. But like when it's somebody like Debbie who is just like so down to earth, such a nice person, do you know what I mean? You can see how that wouldn't have bothered her. Do you know what I mean? And I'm entirely grateful that you've got that connection, just because I think that's lovely, because I think she's a lovely human and she needs another lovely human. Do you know what I mean? So nice. I think, but I think that's true. And like all things, it's, you're saying about, you know, if you didn't download Facebook, you wouldn't have met Debbie. And it's like, and there's these things happen to us all. Like, you know, if I didn't have testicular cancer, I wouldn't be sitting here like talking to you and you know being able to kind of go out and do talks and spread the word about Cahonas. And Richie was obviously doing a phenomenal job with Cahonas, and took me on to kind of help push that awareness narrative and that education narrative. And I think, you know, the podcast was this happy accident that came out of that. So
it's amazing.
It's funny like how all these things go, and the fact that I can't remember how it happened. I think Debbie must have texted Pamela, my wife, the picture of the box, and then it was sent on to me.
I know, you're right. Aye, that's how it happened. Aye.
Yeah, and it was like, oh my god, like what a small world anyway, but it just got smaller because of that.
And as soon as Debbie found out, I told her stuff. She mentioned to me about the Cahonas thing on Facebook. He says you should like the page and all that, and then that sort of spoke more. And then I think she spoke to your missus, and then I think she got a text and it says, if you want to go on the podcast, go on the podcast. I was like, no, I'm on the podcast. That's funny. Yeah. But I do think it's a thing like men 100% like, because remember I told you, but I spoke to the person at Persimmon Homes.
Yes, yeah.
And that's, I've sent him an email now, see what happens with that. But I'll mention it to Miller Homes too, so hopefully both of you spend some money in Cahonas. For the men, because there's a very, I know there's women on the website, but it's a very...
It's male oriented.
Male dominated environment. And working class men, like I've been speaking about, on a building site, and type of men probably doesn't really talk about that kind of stuff. And health and safety woman was in, she was talking about that Andy's Club and that, I think, which is another good thing for men's mental health. but because they've got like a chill zone. Not that anybody's ever there, but it's there, and they're trying to push it, saying if you are stressed, you can go to the chill zone, and someone might talk to you and all that, which is a good step in the right direction. And then I just got, I don't know how I mentioned it. I think she mentioned cancer, because someone just went through a lot of cancer, and maybe years Dandy's Club for it or something. And I said, I was actually having through cancer. I mentioned Cahonas, and she was quite interested, and she was like, you know what? Because she was saying like it's a very male, well, obviously only fucking male type of cancer.
Yeah.
But she was saying like women just chat and talk openly about getting, is it cervix thing checked, or getting their, what's the thing they call it? Getting whatever checked they need checked, like a normal thing.
Yeah, the smear test and all that.
Smear test, sorry.
Yeah.
You're getting the smear test, getting this, getting that, and then men didn't really ever chat about these things. I never chatted about it. I couldn't one hand the amount of folk I told. And then it needs to be more normal for men to talk about it. So she spoke to the directors, and the directors was interested, so we'll see what happens to that.
Yeah.
Hopefully. Because I think a building site, if there's ever a place to say, look, check your buzz, you might just save your own freaking life, mate.
Yeah.
And a wee bit of awareness for folk who are not aware of this sort of stuff, who don't really take their own health into consideration, and all that type of person. Do you know what I mean? It's like, just go to work, provide.
Yeah.
Go home.
And if it's like you as well, if it's somebody who's like, you know, they've had a day where there's a lot of manual handling, a lot of kind of moving about, you know, you're going to get aches and pains, and you're just going to gulp paracetamol, you're just going to take brufen, and you're just going to go, no. And I think it's important to go back to what you were saying as well about the size thing. You know, it's like, I think, it's not always about enlargement. It's noticing a change in size.
Yeah.
You know, whether something feels like it's got smaller or bigger, it's as long as you're doing those regular checks, you're going to notice what's normal for you. And then if there's a slight subtle change, you're going to detect it.
Yeah,
you know, and I think that's the thing. And see, when I've done talks, like I've went into like oil and gas places, I've went into you know, like foundry workplaces, and see these guys, you can see I'm getting made to come here, you know, but see by the end of it, they're all engaged and asking questions, and see the amount of guys who have went, I had one of the epididymal cysts when I was younger, and somebody else will go, oh, so did I? How come you never tell me? And it's like,
no, you're right, mate. If one talks, a few might talk.
Exactly.
And this and loads of other scenarios, if we're brave enough to stand, we all might stand together.
Yeah.
And it's funny. I was going to say ST as well. Got a friend in England, Ben, and he's. When I told him, it was actually before I got the results that I was going to be all right, basically. But. My pal was saying like that, this was not a good story from Ben, because Ben's like, oh, my mate had that, and he got a really, really big bowl, and then it turns out it spread to his stomach, spread to his back, and he got this operation, loads and loads of chemo, went through that, and 2 years later it came back and killed him. I'm like, fuck.
Jesus.
I know, so I was thinking, wow, mate. Yeah. He's like, but you're probably all right, mate. Don't worry about it. But then, because that's what I'm thinking, the whole year and a half thing.
Yeah.
Like,
but unfortunately as well, it's like, even though the statistics are really, really good in terms of survival rate, if detected early, there still is death associated with testicular cancer, and that's what we're trying to prevent. We're trying to prevent guys from, you know, being in the position where they might not be as lucky as you, and their cancer has spread because they have waited so long. They're embarrassed to go. I remember even like one of my checkups. So I'd obviously worked in the wards with Debbie, and we and during my time, there's a host of junior doctors come in and do their placement in psychiatry. So my GP ended up being one of those junior doctors that I'd worked with when they were like a junior.
Oh, you're really proud of them.
Yeah, and I was like, but I ended up going like in and being like. And she was a female, and she was like, "Are you okay with me doing this, Paul?" I'm like,
"Oh, so you've known it, and she's going to see it."
And I'm like, at this point now, I don't care. I just go for it. You know, it's and it's trying to get rid of that embarrassment. It's like, and you hit the nail on the head though. It's like, see those 2 women, or those 3 women that were doing your ultrasound, and they were just chatting away because they do not care.
I know.
They're just like, it's just a willy and a set of balls until you lose that one, and it's just a willy and a ball. But
last time I could say balls.
How long has it been since your surgery then?
What was it again? I got that operation. I must have got operation August or September.
Right, okay. So you're still not that long out of it. Because it's like, I don't know if this has happened for you, but eventually it creeps in where you do refer to it, like instead of going hitting the balls, you go, oh, couldn't hit the ball.
No, after that.
Eventually creeps in. Like,
when I'm talking to Debbie, if I'm like, grab my balls, bowler. But it's funny.
But it's just like, I think that's the important thing about these conversations as well is that it is guys like yourself. It is working class.
There's normal guys who aren't around folk who help them.
Yeah.
Who aren't around like work environments where they've got posters everywhere or like some sort of aid or some sort of like there's really nothing. I know a lot of single guys in a lot worse positions than me.
Yeah.
And they're trying to pay a lot of things in the rain and you're stressed the money and it's all connected that guys aren't talking enough and there's not enough.
And I think like, see when you look at it, and again we can talk about the stats and them being low comparatively to other cancers, but see just for example football, right? We go to football clubs as much as we can, try and talk to the players and staff and things like that. But see trying to get, people engaged in doing like a longer term thing about testicular cancer awareness. And I keep trying to say to folk, like, even though the numbers are low, but it's affecting men in the prime of their life, it's going to affect potentially one of your players, it's going to definitely affect one of your fans. Yet campaigns around breast cancer, and I'm talking about in the men's game, about breast cancer, have got a 200% increase in testicular cancer. It's like, so they talk about breast cancer more in the men's game than they do talk about testicular. And they've had two major players at Celtic have had it, There was a young guy who played with West Ham, Dylan Tombides, he had it. He passed away, sadly. Sebastian Haller, who played with Borussia Dortmund at the time, it's like these big high-profile names, and there's still this lack of wanting to, because there's a stigma and embarrassment about talking about testicles as well, and that's why it's great. Like, see when guys like you who are in a workplace that's male-dominated, who are able to go like, listen, can I talk about this? And then your gaffers or HR or whoever, Ocky Health going, actually, no, that makes sense for us. That's the hope, eh?
With the amount of balls in the job.
Yeah.
Basically, but we're doing just, I think it needs to be more like banterish too. Like, we just need to be a bit laid back about it sometimes. And sometimes that resonates with folk a bit better, eh? If it's a bit of banter, say, check your balls, don't be daft. Like, talk like that rather than get everybody in the room and say, like, this is important because of baby. See, there's simple chat. But again, if there's posters in the right place, if there's a phone number to call, because a lot of, I do find it in a building site too, because we talk about this a lot, me and Fraser, and that, and some things we need to do. We need to make sure we sign in and sign out and do things a bit more professionally and deal with agents. And some guys are just pretty socially awkward a wee bit, and then they like going in the office and all that, and then I like doing these things. And these are the same guys who what they like talking about these things or checking these things, and they'd be really embarrassed to go to a doctor and say, by the way. So these guys maybe need help, and if there was a poster that said, call this number if you want to talk to somebody anonymously, like that would maybe encourage them to get themselves checked. And
exactly.
Again, and that's why I feel like I just have to, even though I couldn't, part of me thinking I didn't want to make this like about me. I don't even know what it kind of is, but I didn't want to like seem like I'm looking for attention, but I feel like I need to talk because I'm a confident chap who chats probably too much. So I feel like I should chat just in case I encourage other folks to chat. Do you know what I mean? So I feel like a wee bit of responsibility. Yeah. Well, that's just to make other folk feel a bit more comfortable. That's exactly how I felt. I felt like, see, like until I got the job at Cahonas, right? I felt that I thought I talk about my cancer too much or my experience too much. And then again, I've said this in another podcast, but one of my mates was like, Chippy, you do talk about it enough. Like you like,
I always kind of wait for people. If people bring it up, I'll then talk about it.
Yeah.
But and then you, like you say, you didn't want to make it about you, but actually you can't help but go, no, but there's so little out there for education wise, like, you know, and as Cahonas, we're really, really trying our hardest to get into places, into schools, into businesses, into sports clubs, anywhere we can that'll listen to us. And hopefully, you know, the next generation who's coming up, they'll know wait a year and a half, they'll know put it off for a month, they'll just go, no, this is normal to go and get this checked.
It should be just as equal
Yeah.
as like breast cancer and that. Do you know what I mean? If I look at breast cancer's Facebook page, it's like, I don't know, you feel like you get pushed and promoted and all that. This is like the equivalent. And it should just be, you know, equal.
Yeah.
It's the same amount. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think that's the thing. It's like there's so much awareness campaigns around it, and 20 years ago you couldn't have said that about breast cancer as well. Like, but they've worked so hard, and I think that's the difference. Though, it's women who drive that, so therefore it works.
Women are more protective of each other, and it's a good thing. Like, see if there's a breakup, for example, women like flock round the person who's hurt and look after. See if a guy's in a breakup, it's sort of left on his own.
Yeah, aye. And I think,
and that's kind of with the breast cancer and the ball cancer.
Yeah.
Like, I just think I'm not saying we're going to be like, you know, but just isn't it round with a pizza and a beer and say, "Do you want to talk to me, mate?" Like,
and I think, and that's the thing. It doesn't have to be the same thing as like how women talk to each other about breast cancer. But like you say, you know, it's like, and the way that I specifically try to deliver my talks is a bit of tongue in cheek, a bit of humour, a bit of banter. Yeah. You know what I mean? I don't go in and talk about testicles and all that.
I was like, who uses the word testicle?
Exactly. It's like,
let's just not use it.
You just talk about your balls, your nuts, your gillies, whatever it is.
Your gillies.
Aye. And then as long as we can kind of get that in line, and like you say, if we can start getting guys just talking banterish about it, even if it starts off and it's just all a bit of banter, at least they're talking about it.
Aye, no, 100%, mate.
You know,
and then when they go home, they might just have a wee feel and say, "Oh fuck."
Yeah.
There's a wee lump
But again, like I can only go by like kind of anecdotal stuff where I've given a talk and these, again, you know, guys have reached out for either football clubs or businesses and went, "Listen, thanks very much for coming in. I actually felt like I did have a problem." Nobody's ever went and got checked and they've had a cancer, like touch wood, thankfully. But they've reached out to say, "Thanks for coming in. I actually went and done a check because," or I went to my doctor because I did actually feel something.
That's
so
good, mate. Because the amount of work you do, sometimes you must feel like, same as anything, you're not getting there very far, but the minute you get a wee bit of good feedback, it must make you feel better it's all worth it. It's like, it is worth all the hard work we're doing. We might have just saved somebody, do you know what I mean?
Aye. And I think it's just to kind of like, just before we kind of finish up as well, it's like, it's just to talk about, you know, a kind of bit of self-serving thing, but you know, you've went into hospital, you've went into the beats, and then you've got that Cahonas, you've got this box, you know, reaction wise, like to getting something like that, what was that like? Because as somebody who just gives it, rarely do you hear back from somebody who gets one, so
no, it felt like I was looked after for the first time in a long time, because again, I was like, because of my lifestyle, maybe my working class and where I am in my life and that, I just feel like there was I never get something for free. You know what I mean? And I had this box and I was like, I didn't realise how big it was and how much stuff was in. I had a wee open it and looked at it. I was like, that's honest. And I shut it and I got home and then we looked at it properly and opened it, and me and Debbie was looking through it and all the stuff, and I was like, loving it, mate, honestly. And I used the coffee cup thing too.
Brilliant.
It was just like everyday stuff that you can use. It's handy stuff. And it did make me think, this is great, and somebody freaking cares that I'm going through a hard time now. And I also thought it made me feel better for other people, because I thought, see if you, because I'm sure they'll be booking it, help you through stuff too, if you're going through chemo and all these other things. And I was like, see if you're actually going through a real hard time right now, this book could be a lifesaver. Because see if you've not got a lot of money and you've not got like a supportive family, this box could mean everything to you, that someone cares. So it is really important, mate. It made me feel good, even though I had a bit of support. No,
thank you so much for that. And that's exactly what we're trying to do it. And just to wrap up, you know, you have went through, you know, this mental gymnastic of an ordeal. You know, thankfully in touch wood, no chemo for you. But if you were to give advice to either yourself a year ago or to somebody else who's about to be in that, or who is in the position that you're in, they're maybe going in for an operation, what advice would you give to somebody that's just at the start of their testicular cancer journey?
I'd say the first thought is get checked sooner, make it a priority. I'm one of the lucky ones, but see somebody else having it for a year and a half this could be a completely different conversation where I've got fucking 2 or 3 years left. So if you've got a lump, just, and I know what it's like to be stressed of money, stressed with life in general, but you need to make your health your priority. And if you've got a lump, just please check it. And the other thing I'd say is just, the only advice I could think of is try and talk, even if you're not that confident. It doesn't need to be perfect, but you'll be surprised if you try and talk, the amount of people who will be helpful to you. But just because if you're at the point of starting it, the chances are you're going to be all right. But if you talk, you will find there's help. And just speak to Cahonas. Speak to Cahonas, you'll be all right.
Harry, thanks so much for coming on.
Pleasure, mate.
Cheers, brother.
All right. Thank you very much.